Good afternoon, everyone. We welcome our distinguished guests they are all the members of Kalyani Innovation Network who have very kindly agreed to participate in today's symposium, and our NIBMG family. So today's symposium is focused on the recently approved BioE3 policy, which is about biotechnology for economy, environment, and employment. So to start today's event, may I please request our director, Dr. Sagar Sen Gupta, to kindly give us an overview of this policy. So.
So, no. Sorry. So, good afternoon, everyone who are here, and it is a real pleasure to have all of you here uh, for a mini symposium which we organized in a comparatively lesser amount of time because we thought that we should discuss this in some detail when there is certain amount of enthusiasm and show. So it is better to have it now instead of 15 days later in a more formal invitation setting. So I really welcome all of you who have come in a very short notice, and uh, NIBMG really is really indebted to all of you. We have the entire Kalyani Innovation Cluster network being represented here. We have, apart from NIBMG, of course, we have representations from Rice Foundation, ICER. We are here. Then we have the representation from Triple IT. We have from Kalyani University. We have from Macau. And of course, we have from AIMS. Kalyani, of course, it is a real pleasure to have each one of you to have certain amount of understanding about this policy, which, as you know, came up in on 24th of last month. And initial days were very hazy for even us. Being a DBT institute, it was very hazy because what we didn't really know, what the policy entails, how the policy is going to be implemented, what the policy has focused on, because we were told that, okay, this is a policy which has come. It will be a lie if I say that I understand the policy in every detail, even today. This is the honest truth. But the fact remains, unless we try to understand it and unless we try to make an effort to buy into the policy, which is there to stay for the next years, we will never be able to appreciate it. And this is the honest truth, that this policy will remain. And whatever we do, probably we have to work in such a way that we have to go through this policy and use it to our advantage. Let's be very honest. I'm being candid also. In a way, use it to our advantage so that we can actually gain as a scientific community, we can gain from this policy. Otherwise, the fund flow and everything will be linked to this policy, which has been formally, informally has been told to us. So if we do not buy into the policy, I'm not saying everything we do will be through the policy. I'm saying that if we do not buy into the broad parameters, or at least one of the areas where we can say we are putting in the effort and show something for it. As you know, those days are gone where we say putting in the effort and not show something is not going to be gone. And so we show some effort, then probably we are in a better shape in the next 5 years. Let me put it in very simple terms. So we need to buy into the policy. As the institute, I will, towards the end, I will tell probably how NIBMG will also be buying into the policy, and let us see how it goes. So what are the salient features of the policy? Salient features of the policy is innovation-driven encouragement and support of R&D entrepreneurship, accelerate the technology development and commercialization, establishing biomanufacturing hubs, biofoundry, and AI hubs. Honestly, when I used to hear these terms, many of these terms used to look for me as a foreign terms, because many of these terms are high-level terms which we, as biologists, we are not used to it. What is a biofoundry? That is something which I have been trying to wrap my head around, and probably little bit I know better now, but it is still something. In Bengali we call it dhua dhua. It is like that. But we are trying. Prioritize regenerative bioeconomy models of economic growth and job creation with ethical and biosafety consideration, harmonize regulatory reforms with global standards. Very lofty ambitions, that's for sure. Means all of them are extremely lofty. Why this is important? Because of the strategic roadmap which has been laid out by the government. There are 6 broad pillars on which this policy is going to work on, at least the government thinks will work on. It is the bio-based chemicals and enzymes that has to be make Atmanirbhar, functional foods and smart proteins, precision biotherapeutics. This is probably the area NIBMG most closely aligns with, and maybe some of you also in the audience, also other institutes also aligned with. Climate resilient agriculture, probably not so much. carbon capture utilization, futuristic marine and space research, probably never. But what it stands up on these four parts, we have to actually put in our effort in trying to make bioartificial intelligence hubs. Basically, our AI should be more empowering than what it is today. Already 10 years back, if you think about it, the amount of AI today is tremendous compared to what you do today. You type in one thing, you start typing in Google, the Google will give you 10 different options. Obviously, it is tracking you, it is very scary, but it is a fact of life. So, how can we use it for our work is something which we need to think about. Biomanufacturing hubs, something which we have to embrace at some point. Skill and human resources, regulatory enablement for interministerial coordination. So, this is not only a DBT policy. This is a policy for the cabinet, and we have the people from all across the spectrum in different line ministries, and probably there has to be interconnection between the line ministries to be able to make this policy functional. So these will be implemented in the three big buckets, which I foresee is happening. One is the discovery and integrated research networks. So discovery and integrated research networks may sound that, okay, we are going to do same of what we are doing. The fact remains that there has to be an end goal. At least when we are doing in this policy as the institute, NIBMG, of course, does a lot of blue sky research. And we encourage that. And it will continue. All three things, statements are absolutely true. But at the same time, there has to be something, the PIs and everybody has to put in something which has a potential to go to the preclinical levels, pre-testing levels. That is something which is being told to faculties also. And I think I have to give all credit to my faculties that they have embraced this part. Then bridging the gaps. So basically, if you are able to get the research work into preclinical level, obviously the next thing is to set up the IPR issues, solve the IPR issues, and go to the industry. And that is something which is going to happen. And if possible, if our bioincubators, if our thought process with the Rice Foundation and others come up, we should be able to take up the bio-enabling hubs, which the government calls it Mulankur, basically the shoot coming out from the soil, and it will help in the small scale industries, in the small scale entrepreneurs to set up shop. What has not been done but is going to be done very soon is that, at least in the DBT system, I know in other line ministries is allowed, in the DBT system, the faculties will be allowed to take an equity, which is a great thing to have in the DBT system. It is not there in us, but you have it. It will be allowed to take the equity in the system. So government is also trying its hard to make it something attractive for the faculty. Of course, we are trained as basic biologists, we are trained as genome biologists, we are trained as microbiologists, but the fact remains, what happened? Alpana, I am stuck. Okay. But as what will have it is that we have to somewhat retrain ourselves. We have to somewhat retrain ourselves. We cannot leave a set of differential express genes as work of somebody else to take it forward and say to the director, I am not trained. This is for you other people's job. This is not going to happen because we have to look at something which will take it to the next level. So what we see is the scientific and technological advancements, which is the first step, of course, then bio-based products, circular economy, which we understand that we are actually taking much more from the economy than what we are giving back. We are giving pittance. Even now, we take a chocolate and throw the wrapper on the road. We are giving back to the economy pittance. We are giving back to the environment nothing actually. And streamline policies and regulations. So these things probably go hand in hand, not in this path, but we have to do something about this. So let us go back to about this slide, which is a test case of how it can actually happen. So this is from transition from non-renewable petrochemical feedstock to biomass-derived feedstock for a circular economy. So can we move away from petrochemical-based processes to a biomass-based process? It's not easy. It is not easy because of two reasons. Economy is the one of the major reasons. It will cost much more. Even now, when you go to the supermarket, organic food costs much more than the normal thing. So, is it possible at all? But we have to put in the effort to be able to show that, okay, unless we do that, probably our future is doomed. And that effort is needed on our part, not only in IBMG, but for entire ecosystem, for the Rice Foundation, for the innovation cluster to think about it. The same thing is about the milk data. For example, we have 1.4, almost 1.4 billion people. But what is the per capita availability of the milk? It is around 450 grams per day, which is not enough. So under these circumstances, can we make animal-free milk? And this is apparently being done by a startup in Bangalore where it is animal-free milk, completely animal. And they have not only started that, they have actually tried to, they have started exporting it also. So this is not something which I am telling that we have to do in the innovation cluster. I am giving an example, couple of examples of what can be done in the innovation cluster. So why it matters? It matters because it promotes sustainable and circular practices. How much we take, we try to give it back to a large extent. We address critical issues like climate change, food security, and health. It invests in the industrialization of biology. We have to take biology not only our curiosity, but also to beyond that, and build a resilient biomanufacturing ecosystem. So the BioAI hubs are something which the government is foreseeing. They are foreseeing setting up multiple BioAI hubs. So we have been talking about in NII also, in faculty meetings also, we have told that we have to think about, we have to take the lead as the DBT Institute of setting up a BioAI hub in our campus. Biomanufacturing hubs, something which the innovation cluster can look at it in a much more clearer terms. Biofoundry, advanced facilities for scaling bioengineering and standardized automated methods. Maybe it will not be possible on year 1 or year 2, but someday it has to be possible. If we have to think of 2047 as our ultimate goal. So it is the first policy on biotech, which is, we are very proud of that. Encourage and support the R&D, establish biomanufacturing hubs, which I told, regulatory reforms, employment. Because in a second tier city like Kalyani, if we are able to make a difference, it will make a huge difference in the employment, primary employment, and also secondary, tertiary employment. So that is something which has to be looked at. And probably this is the best part of the policy, because the amount of, we are all doing curiosity-based science. The amount of things which we are giving back to the society, which actually makes a tangible difference to the society's life, is actually minimal. Of course, there are AIIMS, Kalyani, and others are there. I am talking mostly about NIBMG in this case. So the future looks like biopharmaceuticals, smart proteins, which will be developed in India, transition from chemical-based to bio-based industry. Waste like biomass, landfill will be used, employment in 2 to 3 tier cities, which will be enabled, which I told about just now. So there are multiple facets like biopharma, bioagri, bioindustrial, bioenergy, bioservices, maybe something which NIBMG can think about, biomedtech, which NIBMG definitely should think about, and of course others, we will reach out to the others for their help and assistance in this cluster. We have to reach out to the others. And BioE3 also, which have to reach out to the others. All these things, maybe I don't know about biopharma, but among bioindustry, but many of these things I think we can dream about. May not be we'll be able to do it as a cluster, but we can dream about, we can talk about it, and we can think about it more. So Indian economy today is valued at 137 billion. India's growth rate is around 3 which is actually bioeconomy is valued at this. It is around 3.6% of India's GDP. But the forecast is tremendous. But to attain that, we have to start somewhere. And that is something which government really wants us to do. And what we think is that Indian bioeconomy will reach 24,000 billion by 2030, and it will account to 5 to 6% of India's GDP. So these are the innovations. We have to actually think out of the box. Many of the things which I told have to be thought out of the box about agri-food, about the health, about the energy and chemicals, about the climate, and probably ultimately this, when we think of the economy, there will be enhancement of the economy. This is my last slide. And probably in all these cases, there will be possibility of going forward. There will be all these cases, there will be chances that we will make a small contribution to the country. Ultimately, it is the country, whether it is whichever line ministry the money is coming from, it is the country which is feeding us. And we have a duty towards our country to do something. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sengupta. May I please request Professor Arindam Moitra, Associate Director in IBMG, to kindly give an overview of precision biotherapeutics enabled by genomics.
So thank you very much. And again, our director has already welcomed you. Apologies for being a little late. I ran from an online meeting to this physical event. So it's very nice, first of all, to have your footfall in our institute. This is a very nice occasion, and BioE3 has given us, this policy has given us an opportunity for us to be together here. So Dr. Sengupta talked about in detail about the BioE3 policy, which we have been discussing over the last few days. And although there are many other kind of things happening around, but somehow still this policy has been able to make a mark in our minds, and we are discussing it actively. We are trying to see in our own way how this policy will help us do things which we always want to do, ultimately leading to a better environment, better economy, and creating new employment opportunities. So I do not have slides. I will just take a few minutes on what we might think from our institute's point of view on how we can contribute to this new policy of BioE3. So as you are aware, the BRIC National Institute of Biomedical Genomics is only one of its kind institute in the country. We are focused on understanding the genomics and biology of human health and disease, and nothing else. With this advent of this policy, which we now understand what are the different aspects of this policy, we think of what we do and how does that fit in, and how can we as an organization contribute to this new flare of activities that we are expecting in the next few years. How do we see ourselves contributing to that? So as you were aware, the institute works on primarily a few areas. One is, a big arm is cancer. So we work on various cancers. We had been traditionally working on cancers like the oral cancer. And now we are also we have done a substantial amount of work on oral cancer, and now we have identified other cancers which are now taking over. You all are aware that cancers like the colorectal cancer, breast cancer, these are now coming up and overtaking our traditional cancer problems. And so we have identified these newer kind of cancers which are also in our part of our cancer research program. We have also a domain of research on other complex diseases, which means other than cancer, things like we are working on rare diseases, we are working on diseases which are related to the neuromuscular problems, we are working on maternal child health, and so forth. And we are working on, we had a deep history of working on fatty liver disease, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. The third arm is the infectious disease, where we primarily focus ourselves on host pathogen interactions. So we understand that infectious disease is also a complex disease in the sense that it's not the infection alone, but the host factors that contribute to the initiation of infection and severity of the disease. In addition to the research that we do, our institute has played a very key role over the pandemic period on surveillance, the national surveillance program of SARS-CoV-2. And we are expected to continue that and expand to other kind of pathogens and AMR in near future. Discussions are ongoing. And the fourth arm, which actually is a bedrock kind of arm that supports, provides a lot of support to this other arms of this which you described, and which also finds a special mention in the BioE3 policy, is the statistical and computational genomics arm. So that provides the kind of impetus that we require for the setup of the BioAI hubs and so forth. Now, if we look at cancer, so what our aim is not on a, so if you look at cancer and see how we want to use this policy or leverage this policy to come up with newer achievements which can actually help this country using this policy, there are various ways of tackling cancer which we can think about. One is, of course, prediction. So any medical science problem, as our doctors are here, would say that one is prediction, and the second is treatment. Now, in prediction, we are thinking of not only thinking of how we can predict cancers early. Already there are some baby steps taken in that direction. So all the research that we do, which are based primarily from patients and then validating them in biological models, we are actually thinking of coming up with predictive tools. So these tools would be a combination of not only the which captures information on DNA and RNA. I'm not going into details of that. So examples would be, targeted capture panels, looking at panels of RNA, miRNA or other kind of RNA panels, which can be used to predict if there is an onset of cancer early on, because that's where half the battle is won in cancer. If you have early detection, then you have a better prognosis. The second part is, of course, the prediction onto the course or the prognosis that the patient might have. So that also differentiates patients. And so we would like to we are already striving to come up with methods by which such tools not only will predict, because once prediction happens, will classify your patients into different targeted treatment regimes. So that will make the treatments more efficient, more targeted, as opposed to broader kind of chemotherapeutic or other kind of treatment approaches which have a lot of offshore effect and which also have a lot of toxicity associated with it. And the third part is coming up with, in the process of the kind of data we generate and the kind of studies we do, has immense potential in coming up with newer targets for treatment. So now all these three together will contribute to not only identifying patients early, managing them in a more efficient way, and providing newer treatment options. All these three are targeted towards the arm that Dr. Sengupta mentioned about precision biotherapeutics. So I think this is where we as an institute fit in and where we see ourselves contributing a lot in the coming years to this. And so that overall, the country has a more efficient medical treatment medical system that is actually able to treat the patients and have reduced negative impact on the economy. So having improvements in public health affects the economy positively in two ways. One, it reduces the cost of the public health. And second, it also results in more productive individuals who contribute much more to the economy. So these are two areas. And the third is, of course, therapeutics that I told of. Newer models of treatment will come up with newer setups, will come up with development of new drugs or treatment methods that will also require a setup, that will require establishment, and that is where all these will require a lot of entrepreneurship happening. So our more these kind of models in the West and other developed countries have shown that the model of entrepreneurship is a very efficient way of developing this kind of parallel processing and coming up with different kinds of these, trying out these products, and have a healthy competition, so that ultimately the ones that that actually reaches the markets are the ones that are more efficient, ones that are least expensive, and the public benefits at large, and the nation benefits at large. So this is broadly in cancer. So in addition to that, similar approaches are being talked about, the objectives in our other complex disease program. And in that, in addition to what I talked about, I will also include that today we understand that the microbiome plays a very important role. We have our scientists here who are working on microbiome substantially. We are looking forward to expanding that. And microbiome today is being used, leveraged very well, and I'm sure everybody knows in this room, for better treatments, better management of health. So again, so that is an area that will actively contribute to our efforts using this BioE3 policy in future, that will surely give success. The AI is a very important part in this whole setup. And we understand that the kind of data today we generate, the discovery data, like Blue Sky Research, he was saying, today we have moved over from approaches where we take somebody's blood or a piece of tissue, we extract the DNA and RNA from millions of cells from that tissue sample, and we get a sum total or an average readout of various genes and mutations and so forth. In the process, we are lost, because we do not understand how each of those million cells, the human body has 37 million cells, trillion cells, how each of these cells actually in an organ contribute to the function of that organ for the state of health or state of disease. And today in NIBMG, we are conducting research where we are using approaches like single-cell genomics and spatial transcriptomics to understand how individual cells expresses 20,000 genes, and how the chromatin folding happens in each of the cells, and which is to be seen in a perspective of a disease or a health trait. So these are going to provide us with immense data. Our whole genome sequencing approaches or whole transcriptome sequencing approaches, which are now very common, we have now graduating over to very long read kind of approaches. So earlier we used to look at short stretches at a time, but now we are reading through the whole DNA molecule. In a process, we are identifying structural variations which nobody has seen before. We are identifying base modifications both in DNA and RNA, which earlier we had very limited ways of doing, although there were a lot of success. We had been using methylation arrays and bisulfite sequencing, but now it's a whole different ballgame. So there are much more modifications that we never saw before, and all these are contributing. So these are all very deep data sets, big data sets. One can spend their entire lifetime interrogating each of these data sets and still not make most of it. But our present analytical methods are unable to cope with it, to give us interpretations which can be taken forward in terms of products. So this is where AI will play a very important role. Already it has started playing an important role. We will be using high-end computational machine learning and AI tools to increasingly understand what this data means in terms of what questions we are asking like this. And on top of that, we are going to, like bioservices was also mentioned, we are going to come up with methods, but we are coming up with methods by which we can actually interrogate in a larger genomic scale without increasing the cost. So tomorrow, let every citizen of the country have their genome sequence on the back of their Aadhaar card as a chip. Thank you very much.
May I now request Dr. Shouvik Mukherjee, Associate Professor, to kindly talk about harnessing the power of microbiome-based biotherapeutics.
Thank you, Alpana. So the first slide is explained already. So I'm not going to explain, but what I would like to impress upon the fact is that one of the major applications of BioE3, as the previous speakers also mentioned, is on harnessing the power of microbiome-based biotherapeutics. And when I talk about microbiome-based biotherapeutics, it is actually connected to these four arms. One is the bio-based chemicals and enzymes. One is, of course, precision biotherapeutics. We are also doing some research on that line. Climate resilient agriculture and futuristic marine and space research. These are the four arms where harnessing the power of microbiome-based biotherapeutics is essential. Now, bio-based chemicals and enzymes. Now, we have lots and lots of omics data generated on the microbial, fungal, algal strains. These are the isolate genomes. And we are also doing microbiomes now, where we are doing all the genomes together, deconvoluted genomes together. Now, these ultimately, when we analyze these omics and integrate this ultimately will give you some identify novel metabolic pathways and the small molecules that are important. Based on their, these information, we can go for a prediction of molecular design principles. This will guide synthetic biology approaches to biomanufacture high-value chemicals and biochemicals. Secondly, in the climate resilient agriculture, there is a mention in BioE3 that, and we have also heard some of the lectures during the RISE meetings, that there are entrepreneurs who are building up these nitrogen-fixing microbes, and they are putting them in the infertile soils and making them more fertile. So actually, there is a line in the BioE3 policy. They say that the soil microbiome-based research in India, including the soil microbiome and genome analysis, will be done to select the superior microbial phenotypes to enhance agricultural productivity from reduced land mass. The land mass is very limited amidst the climate change impact. In the futuristic marine and space research, it is mentioned that the astronauts' health, when they go to the space and they come back, the astronauts' health can actually be understood by looking into their microbiomes from their stool samples, and some potential health risks can be envisaged. Probiotics can be made. Those probiotic foods can be taken in the space, and they can actually consume that to remain healthy. Precision biotherapeutics is where NIBMG and some of our labs are actually working on microbiome-based precision biotherapeutics. Here we are involved in profiling the individual microbiome to understand their therapeutic efficacy. And while we are doing that, we are not only studying the human, we are studying it in a One Health perspective. Now, One Health, as we all know, is, we cannot study human as a separate individual. We have to study human, and we have to study the animal health, poultry, and other cases, and we have to also study the environmental health. Some of these studies we are also doing in the INSACOG phase 2, where we are looking into the AMR from the sewage, from the poultry, from the rivers, and ultimately it is going to focus on human health. Now, microbiome-based biotherapeutics are now very much used, and most of them, the major ones are, as you know, fecal microbiota transplantation, as some of the AIMS faculties are also involved in this type of research, and they have contacted us, and we are in close contact identifying these pros and cons of fecal microbiota transplantation. What is actually fecal microbiota transplantation is the transfer of the feces or the complex communities of these healthy microbes that are derived from the healthy individuals and are given to the non-healthy individuals. Like somebody has a liver cirrhosis problem, and it is a terminal case. So they give consent to take the athlete's stool samples, identify those bacteria that are considered to be probiotic, and they can be administered to the individuals by different heterologous and autologous routes. Now, advantages are that the transfer of the intact community can be done. You don't have to do in vitro culture. You don't have to understand which can be cultured more, which can be cultured lesser than that. But the challenge is screening of the donor samples, and this is the place where we are in close contact with the AIIMS faculties and how to screen the donor sample scalability and the inter-individual variability of the healthy individuals also. Prebiotics, and we all know about supplementation of microbiota targeted substrates. These are some of the foods that are going to increase your healthy microbiome. Thirdly, symbiotic microbial consortia. When we are comparing cases and controls, we are actually identifying some core microbiome in the controls. We have to go to the lab and do in vitro culture, and after that in vitro culture, we can build that microbial consortium with the same stoichiometry that is present in the stool samples. And with that, if we can administer that as a capsule or some other cases, that is a symbiotic microbial consortia, repleting your healthy microbiome. There are reports of engineered symbiotic bacteria. You can engineer the healthy genes in them. You can silence some of the harmful genes. So these are also the very recent understanding, and FDA approval is obtained in very few cases for these engineered symbiotic bacteria. And lastly, microbiota-derived proteins and metabolites, as I have told previously. So one of the success stories of FMT is in C. difficile infections. And here, before the FMT, you have an unhealthy gut, the diversity is gone, it is altered interaction with the mucosal immune cell population. But after you do FMT with these fecal microbial transplant, you gain back that diversity. And you have more SCFAs and conjugated bile acids and immune cell populations also. It's not always feasible to do FMT. So there are some futuristic organ-on-chip kind of thing where you can mimic the intestine in a chip, and then you can put in the microbiome there, and you can check in an organoid model how these microbiomes fare in that organ-on-chip there, and that you can put, that can also be used as a therapeutic treatment for the personalized medicine. Now, there are several milestones of how a probiotic bacteria was first isolated, lactobacillus, how their probiotic efficacy is proven, and from there we are now into an era where we are trying to do 16S amplicon sequencing or cataloging the microbiome by shotgun sequencing, and we are going to the next generation probiotics. So while we say next generation probiotics, they contain live organisms. It is applicable to the prevention, treatment, or cure of a disease condition and is not a vaccine. Like we all know that these are the probiotics we have already used. But these are mostly Eurocentric studies that have given you bifidobacterium, lactobacillus, and all. When you go to other population-specific bacterial signature, there are some of the bacteria that we never know that has probiotic efficacy. So these type of bacteria are now live biotherapeutics and called next-generation probiotics. And a major part of it is these genetically modified microorganisms. There are some of the examples of where these type of next-generation probiotics are used in diseases like cancer, and cancer, intestinal bowel disease, asthma, eczema, and many other cases. Other than the prebiotics, there are postbiotics and parabiotics. Postbiotics are the bacterial products that you derive, and the parabiotics are non-viable microbial cells. They're heat-killed and they're given. So, bacteriophage therapy is another angle of biotherapeutics, and actually DBT is more interested in these types of. I actually participated in a DBT meeting of microbiome-based biotherapeutics where these came up in a large amount, because antibiotics are going to get resistant. But if you use bacteriophage therapy, there are several examples in skin diseases and other kinds of diseases where the pathogenic bacteria can be killed by the bacteriophage therapy and combating the AMR. In our NIBMG, we do microbiome research in several aspects. We do, skin diseases, we do preterm birth, we do diabetic complications, and of course the host microbiome interactions in SARS-CoV-2. In all of these studies, we are actually working in that line for these BioE3 thing. And in the atopic dermatitis, we have actually presented that in DBT in front of the secretary, and we are doing something to connect the basic science to translational research, and that is falling in line with the BioE3. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Mukherjee, for a very nice overview of microbiome and biotherapeutics. May I please invite Professor Ayan Banerjee from ICER Kolkata. He's also the director of RISE Foundation to kindly just give an overview of how RISE and KIN can play a role in this policy.
Yeah, so thank you for having me. And I mean, this is like really next door to us. And I've come here numerous times. I don't even remember how many times. But today I was actually thrilled that this place is actually referred to as IBM. So that is what we were generally NIBMG was described by several locals, and myself, and I have with me Professor Supratim Datta, who is my colleague and who is the head of the biological sciences department, and who is a much better fit to this than myself. I am a physicist. I'm trying some stuff in biology. Of course, there is RISE. So anyway, we were, getting led here. And then when I came to know that this is called IBM, I figured it out, of course, that some of the alphabets have been left out. But I think this was rather sort of, almost like something that's going to happen in the future. This is like, so if an IBMG can indeed become the IBM of India in terms of implementation of BioE3, I think that's what we would really look forward to. So I would just give a brief spiel about where RISE is at the moment and what we are doing about this bio stuff, which is really very, very happening. Most of you, of course, are familiar with us and RISE, of course, the Research, Innovation, and Scientific Entrepreneurship Foundation, ICER. It started as a dream in 2018 when myself, Professor Saurabh Pal, he was the director then, and he was the person who asked me to sort of come up with a project to be submitted to the NIDHI, DST's call, NIDHI DST. It had a call open then, and it was like, I was given about 3 hours to write a proposal, and thankfully there was some stuff which we had compiled earlier, and then it was shot off, and thankfully RISE was born. And of course, finally, everything, the reviews happened very quickly, and we actually we were approved of the grant 2018 itself. But of course, there is a difference between the cup and the lip. And so while the funds, we were told of the funds in 2019 beginning itself, probably less, not even a year, probably in late 2018, it took 4 years for the funds to come. Of course, there was COVID in the middle. But thankfully, after that, we have progressed. And what we have at the moment is not just that, but also this. And this is something which we are pretty proud of, in the sense we've got actually some CSR funding from HDFC through its Parivartan grant. And this was specifically given towards, it was specifically given towards enabling some kind of research on agro-based initiatives. It's not a big funding, but they actually had us go through a whole hackathon process. And finally, they down-selected some, I think, five startups out of whoever had applied. So it was a good testing thing for us. Of course, Nidhi is very much there, but we're already in the third year of Nidhi. And now the time has come for us to generate our own funding and all that. And we are pretty positive about that. Of course, the main thing that we had was this, because when we were in the review for RISE, what we were told is, of course, one very, very big advantage we had was that Professor Saurabh was known to the panel, which was a big, big advantage. And but then still the typical doubts that were there about this being in the eastern part of the country and nothing really happens here, and do you really think that giving them 12, 13 crores is throwing money down the well? But then it was defended by the fact that IISER Kolkata, IISER, the system itself is a pretty new one, which doesn't have too much of baggage. And then, of course, we had a director who had driven such entrepreneurship, at NCL, which was probably the first of its kind in the country. So that helped us. But the other thing that helped, of course, was that we actually said that we would be the gateway to the East and the Northeast. So this is something that we are also trying at the moment. And the main challenge is, of course, to ensure that the typical ecosystem that exists at IISER is essentially one towards research. And even the teaching is completely sort of trying to make PhD students out of everybody. So that is a paradigm shift. That is not something that works nowadays. That is something which we really need to get past. And that's where we are trying to come in the sense that we have actually started entrepreneurship courses. There's a course that is running presently with the help of IISER Pune. We are actually doing this whole semester-wide course on, how to become an entrepreneur. And it's actually credits, like the 3-4 credit course. So that is like one of the first steps. And what the plan is, of course, afterwards, is that to get a whole, so the flagship program is the 5-year BSMS program. And there is a 5th-year project at the end. 1 whole year is dedicated towards the project. So the plan is to have somebody doing a startup or being deeply involved in building a startup as a project. That is something which we hope to be starting pretty soon. It's been sort of mulled over in the Senate, and there is no negativity there. So that hopefully would help. So this is the team. You know us, of course. Now our director is Professor Khare. So I think many of you probably know him out here at NIBMG. And so what I wanted to just say is, of course, you guys are much more of experts than myself. But I just picked up some key features of this policy. And what I see is agriculture, conservation, bioeconomy, employment, and this. So this is where RISE can figure in quite a bit, and not even just RISE. I think KIN also has a massive role to play, especially here. We were lucky to be in touch with an agricultural entrepreneur about a year and a half back. And this was a person who had like 3 companies, and he really took us, sort of handheld us into sort of understanding the real problem. So one big thing that he told us, so we actually are very close with this organization called BRIPAD, which is the B.R. Ambedkar Institute of Panchayat and Rural Development, which they're in Kalyani. So they do entrepreneurship fairs, and this gentleman, he actually came with us and was one of the, mentors for a certain fair. And we could see that he knew people by name out there, which was remarkable. And what he actually said was that not only should we do plant tissue culture, we actually now have a plant tissue culture lab, but start directly getting into, so he said one massive thing that was a sort of a burning requirement need, which would get a lot of traction, is that Bengal is a land of potatoes, right? People who come from outside perpetually crib that the only vegetable that falls on your plate is a potato. But what is quite remarkable is potato seeds are actually important, or I mean, what I shouldn't say important, maybe for us, it's not something outside the country, but still it's obtained from Punjab completely. No potato seed, I mean, is really sort of produced here. It comes from Punjab, and then we finally do all the, the seed is sown here, and all the potatoes, of course, I mean, they are farmed here, but the seeds are absolutely obtained from Punjab, which is quite, it was news for us. So he said that what happens really was that Punjabi farmers have this great, so many Bengali entrepreneurs, etc., have attempted to, do something about it. But what happens is the pretty financially strong Punjabi, that industry out there, they can lower prices like crazy and they can bear a lot of losses. So what happens is whenever people have tried something from here, immediately they would lower things, the prices at such a level that people here would just go back, just drop out. So he said that why don't you start doing this? We have these seed culture. Why don't you just make a culture lab? So then he took us to this place at Krishnanagar, where again West Bengal, the government, both the central and state governments have come up and made this very, very large greenhouse, which has this thing. But of course, you can see that somewhat true to the reputation of Bengal, what you have as infrastructure is not coming out as output. So what he said was that, this is what it finally evolves to, so why don't you guys set up something? And we have done that. He also said that, of course, we are not doing potatoes now because very, very unfortunately, he passed away 3 months back. So that was the thing. But he said that he has several contacts around, his business is continuing, but then, he said that why don't you tally up with BCKV? This is a problem statement I'm just giving you. Go ahead and do it. So things like this, and the fact that we have BCKV next doors, which has a lot of, understanding, appreciation, maybe not appreciation, but knowledge they have. Somehow that spark, that realization that the knowledge can be translated to something that may yield millions in terms of fulfilling a lot of these goals as well. This, lot of stuff. So that was a hope. This was just a little story I said to sort of tell you the potentials that we have here. And okay, this is the team. We have about, 8 people around now. It's growing. Focus areas, again, this is where we come in, in terms of healthcare and bio as well. At the moment, we have pretty much some pretty nice people in our, advisory board. This person, she was the founder of IKP Knowledge Park. We're actually doing a big thing right now at the Rise tomorrow and day after called TechBiz, which again we are doing with IKP. We have Dr. Prem Nath again, Venture Center, the heart and soul behind the Venture Center. Dr. Monday is around. So, of course, Dr. Singh as well of AIMS. So the important thing that RISE facilitates is hand-holding you to doing everything, right? Starting from, we have now labs worth equipment of about 5 to 7 crores. 7 crores we have, 5 crores we have spent at the moment. But most importantly, we now have both cell and animal culture, animal tissue culture facilities. We have actually a 3D printer with possibilities of, making small devices out of course, plastic at the moment. But there, not only that, the connects that we have, right from, producing, you meant in the sense of IP, that is IP here, that is very crucial, which I really see in my colleagues as well. Everybody goes and publishes a paper, but does not realize that it takes just a month of work before you are even ready with the full version of your paper to just go out and submit a patent. It is just nothing. And yet there is very, very, very little understanding in almost 95% of my colleagues that this is just little more effort. And it's a minuscule amount of effort, because I myself, I was in GE before I joined IZER. And the fact that I got a job at IZER was because I had 21 patents. And I know what it takes to do a patent, actually. Here, however, I still, I realize that patents do not count, unfortunately, when you want to get a promotion. Things are changing, however, have changed a lot. And that message, I think, should absolutely go down to all faculty colleagues. And I think, directors should probably come up and say this, because it is important that we do patents. There is a lot of knowledge that we produce, which essentially goes completely untapped in terms of monetization, right? And RISE is out there to help. We are in very close contact with IKP. We ourselves have, with the national, NUJS, we have contacts with them. Anybody out there wants a help in patents, we are there for you. So services, I just, whatever incubation center provides, infrastructure, I won't want to bore you. This thing looks good, especially in the backdrop of the setting sun and all. Inside, we have a very nice, this is like where we have the classes and all that. This is done, the decor was designed by a person from Shantiniketan. This is interesting in the sense, these are the cell culture, etc. This is the suits. We have some 16 to 18 labs which we can give to incubators at the moment. But more importantly, we have now at least 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 startups. These green that you see, these boxes, these are actually startups which have equity, which have got some angel investors. This company, for example, they are making SPR-driven some kind of substrates for diagnostics, and they're getting help from us itself. From one of my colleagues is a mentor. Myself, I'm a mentor. Then you can see in agro as well. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 companies, out of which HDFC funded 4. And again, these are people. The issue, of course, to a certain extent, is many of them are virtual incubators who are, incubated at different places, but also come up and do some stuff there. But what they really look up to us is for the handholding and the connections. So that is actually happening. Our labs, we now have technical officers to run both cell and animal culture labs. So if you want to develop stuff, if you have ideas which you want to translate, and you are getting, not getting machine time in your institute or somewhere else, you can always come up. We are absolutely there to help, right? So I think, this KIN, of course, everybody knows here. So these are the people who have founded KIN, so I don't need to tell you too much about it. But what I really wanted to inform is that, we hopefully, this is finally going to happen again. This is not going to stop when Gokhale said it a very long time back, and since then it's the opposite now. But what is important, however, is that, of course, we have collaborators, all the other institutes, cooperation, but this is crucial. We've actually written a proposal to BioNest for a BioNest hub. It's passed the first round. And let's see. That is what I hope will happen. And once we get this is, of course, all the 8, this has been submitted to RISE, but all the 8 participants of KIN are, of course, linked to it. And we haven't heard back after the first round of interview of the presentation. But since there is no BioNest out in the East, we are quite hopeful. Okay, so I'll stop here. I think Supratim can take over from here, I guess. And yeah, if you have any questions, thank you.
Please request Professor Supratim Datta, who's the head of the Department of the Biological Sciences at IISER Kolkata, to kindly give his views.
So thank you. If I have to be candid, like Dr. Sengupta, I have to say that I wasn't very sure what to present. So I've made some slides, and Dr. Sengupta has already covered a lot of it. Dr. Mukherjee, I think, yeah, you have also covered a lot of it. So there'll be some repeats. What I'll try to do is focus a little bit on this biomanufacturing of specialty chemicals, because that sort of aligns with the kind of work I do. Again, this is, I'll skip this slide, but in bold are the sort of objectives of this policy, which is to the R&D part, promote domestic manufacturing, biomanufacturing, combine artificial intelligence with the, through the omics data into this sort of path, and make biofoundries or biomanufacturing hubs, and finally the trained workforce. This you've already seen. I was a little bit involved in the design of this program, so I'll speak a little bit on that. It's very dense, or sort of a useless slide, but I'll just point out the what is important, which is, if you just see the trend lines, India has a lot of potential in making chemicals, and we have been known to be a chemical hub. In the 70s, I guess in West Bengal in particular, and after that it died down. But anyway, across the country, there is a lot of potential, and that's how this was picked up. And so, of course, all of this has to translate into numbers, and that is the justification that we'd be able to tap. Yeah, sure, thank you. We'll be able to tap this chemical market using biological pathways. So across these specialty chemicals, so on the left, by chemicals, there can be a lot of things, from nutraceuticals to food additives, plastic additives, rubber processing, construction chemicals, cleaners, surfactants, textiles, papers, flame retardants, lubricating oils, antioxidants, in the petroleum industry, biocides, corrosion inhibitors. And this is information taken from a McKinsey report, which shows that within this space there are, this is the sort of attractive zone, or there is more money based on our market share or based on our manufacturing capabilities. But this just gives you a sort of an overview of the type of things one can do across this area. There are different, you can pick whichever one, whichever chemical suits you. Now, what is the incentive for all of this? Dr. Sengupta mentioned the circular economy, where basically, there is no waste, you're using everything. Whether you like it or not, chemicals are a key part of the global economy, and it's ironic we talk about plastics and microplastics and going into our brain, but we can't live without them. And so the idea is, can we sort of replace the petrochemical-based feedstocks with biological feedstocks? So we also know the chemical industries are dirty, so it's a big contributor to greenhouse gases, and of course what we put out into the environment. We contaminate the soil, release carcinogenic products, have an effect on local biodiversity. So if we replace the feedstock with biological feedstock, which are renewable, plant-based one, that's one possibility. And then, of course, if you do that, on top of that, if you can involve biological processes, you capture some of the carbon, capture some of the pollutants, so you make existing processes cleaner, at the very least. Even if you have failed in anything new, if you try to make it cleaner, then that's something which would be useful. And so there are synthetic biology toolboxes, which is basically synthetic biology is a buzzword which incorporates molecular biology, and you think like an engineer, you think of biology as a machine where you combine parts, and you can manipulate metabolic pathways, you can design genetic circuits, and then you can optimize those pathways and generate your product of choice. And again, this is something which has, in the scientific literature, there are a lot of examples where you combine these biological tools with metabolic engineering, And these are some of the things you can produce which are part of this BioE3: fuels, pharmaceuticals, nutraceuticals, commodity chemicals, and specialty chemicals. And these are some of the examples, successful examples from the West, from the literature, which people have done using these kind of technologies. And so this is one option. You make a molecule which you need. Another option is this platform technology. So a lot of the big companies in the West, Codexis or Ginkgo Biotech right now, have this platform technology. So it's kind of like the Syngene, where the companies are given a task to do something. They use their platform technology, and they give you what you want, whether it's a new molecule or you want a new protein produced, a new pathway produced. So that's also one option under this. And there are existing companies in India, Praj, Godavari biorefineries, which are trying to use these bio-based feedstocks to make chemicals. Of course, most of the success stories are in the West, across Cargill, Lanzatech. I'm in a couple of BIRAC committees, and BIRAC is very interested in funding such projects. So there are a lot of startups which are coming up, not necessarily in this part of the country, but in particularly in the Hyderabad, Bangalore region. And of course, there are the academic institutions which can contribute to this. Some of the gaps in this is the lack of biomanufacturing capacity. So if you are making something in your lab, and if you try to translate it, it's very difficult to do, as we all know. So you need these hubs where you can go and scale up your ideas. So, of course, that would require funding, which hopefully this BioE3 policy would be useful for. Regulatory approvals, because these are biological products, and you're making new organisms, etc. So those have to be IP protected, and approvals have to come. And integration with respect to data and across different biological agencies. And again, that's how this came about. And of course, this is what the government expects, which is that it will be the engine of growth through this bioeconomy, reduce dependence on fossil fuels, lower greenhouse gases, both problems for India, job opportunities, and national security strengthening. So if you think of this as an overall schema, you would have biomanufacturing. So let's say, since I come from an institute, so there'll be fundamental research which would hopefully contribute through, would scale up through companies like Rice, or contribute methods which will enable biomanufacturing that would be taken up for commercialization by other companies, or through these scale-up, own companies, in-house companies. It'll go into the market. There'll be investments. So mostly right now it's the government. Hopefully down the line it'll be companies which will invest, and it'll be a sort of a, this would be the process. So you mentioned biofoundry. What is a biofoundry? I happen to have a slide on this. It's a facility to align experiments, validate, optimize, scale up. It's taken from, I guess, chemical engineers, automated workflows to streamline design, build, test, learn cycle, accelerate discoveries and biotechnologies. And it involves, a lot of molecular biology and synthetic biology, sometimes cell-free systems and bioprocess engineering. And it would typically entail having liquid handling units for high throughput experiments. The molecules you make have to be characterized. So, think about your ITCs or BIA cores and DSCs and things like that. Plate readers for assays. And then, of course, pilot scale experimental facilities. So if you are making protein in 1 liter scale, you do 5 liters, 10 liters, 50 liters, and to be able to show to industry that this works, that it's not something that you're going to do in your shake flasks. So that data becomes very important. This is a little bit about my work. As I said, I was a little bit confused on what to present. So my interest in all of this comes around working with enzymes. So we do a lot of engineering of enzymes, whether rationally or through guided by computation in collaboration with colleagues. And I work with biomass to produce and convert biomass as a source for enzymes. And so you need a set of enzymes to degrade this biomass, and whatever you produce, you can decide what you want to produce by producing them in microbes. And so this is a bottleneck here because you have mix of enzymes. The substrate is a solid substrate. It's not a soluble substrate, and therefore you have a mix of enzymes that you would want to work best with each other. So we work with individual enzymes. We work with also microbial consortia in trying to sort of design genetic circuits to help these have specialized bacteria to make these individual enzymes and understand how they work with each other. And this is another of my projects, which is, again, these are all very basic science projects where we're trying to make alkanes or alkenes by working on, we have done a few knockouts, increase the fatty acid pathway, convert that to an aldehyde through these reductases, and then use carbonylases to convert the aldehyde into alkanes or alkenes depending on the degree of unsaturation across these fatty acids. And I also have another project where you're trying to sort of marry this with plastic degradation and to make fuel. So that's where my sort of interest lies, but I do, it's all very basic science, and though I'm on BioE3 committees and so on, but I've not ventured towards scale-ups or anything like that. So that's all I have in this. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Datta. May I please request Professor Oishala Bandyopadhyay to deliver a talk? Okay, first of all, I just want to wish a happy Teachers' Day to all the professors present here and the students. I hope they are also having good wishes. Okay, so being a representative of Information Technology Institute, I want to focus on the bioartificial intelligence hub aspect of this BioE3. As my previous speakers have already explained very nicely most of the key features of this BioE3 policy. Now, one of the components clearly mentioned in that policy comes under this BioAI hub. And we feel as IT Institute, this is the region where we can contribute in this policy. So basically, it is mentioned in the policy document itself that their main focus is to integrate this biological data with the enabled it with the artificial intelligence components and make the maximum utilization of this data. And the first areas identified as genomics, proteomics, and medical imaging, and understanding the biological system, disease diagnosis and treatment, drug discovery, and personalized nutrition. So there are several other aspects like agricultural productivity, increase of agricultural productivity using artificial intelligence. Then some climate change impact that also can be studied using artificial intelligence. And data analytics, which is one of the major component of this AI part, that can also contribute to improve the farming practices
soil condition monitoring in the agriculture sector, and definitely that will help us to increase the productivity and solve the food crisis in our country. Another component clearly mentioned is the data governance framework. Now, we understand that huge volume of data is available in all the sectors, starting from the agricultural side, from the genetic side, and from the atmospheric sciences. Everywhere data is available. But if data governance framework is not available, we can't control the data, we can't utilize the data efficiently for any AI-based system. And that's why those points are clearly mentioned, like ensure and enable the building of data governance framework, ensure that data are utilized in a way of maximize benefit, and ensure the public benefit, not constrained by commercial and individual interest. That is the most important part of this, so that ground level people should be benefited on this. Now, where IIIT Kalyani can contribute or can plan about this, we are having computer science and engineering discipline, we are having electronics communication engineering discipline, and the basic sciences, physics and mathematics discipline. And we can say that application of AI, ML, computer vision, security aspects, IoT, 5G, nanotechnology, and from physics and mathematics, the atmospheric sciences. These applications can be done in agricultural field, medical imaging, atmospheric science, or climate change. And I just want to mention some of the work already going on. Like in AI in agriculture, we already have a project with agriculture and food sustainability in collaboration with IIT Kharagpur and BCKV, and that is sponsored by MIT. So it's already using AI for identification of plant diseases. Similarly, we have another project, extraction, organization, and query of scholarly information funded by ACRB CRG, and this is with Indian Association of Cultivation of Science. This project is mostly focusing on the queries raised by farmers in regional language, parse those queries, and try to generate the answers using AI, instead of attending those answers by individuals, which is time consuming. From climate change side, we are running the project with long short-term memory-based neural network approach for prediction of wintertime fog over northern India, which is a very common problem nowadays. Almost every year, people are suffering, and huge financial loss country is facing because of this fog problem. So that is the Ministry of Earth Sciences, they are sponsoring this project. We have another project, cyclone intensity and track prediction. Cyclone now, because of the climate change, we are facing the cyclones very frequently. And in this study, we have found that 2022 is having all different types of intensity of cyclones in this Bay of Bengal region. So those type of cyclones, if you can go for the prediction, track prediction, definitely that benefits the rural people who are actually the most sufferer of this cyclone and natural calamities. We are having medical side, we are having the patent filed already on anti-nuclear pattern classifier, and another work is going on autism spectrum disorder. So there are several other prospects also where we can apply this artificial intelligence for disease diagnosis, prediction, and for analysis of medical data. And definitely, if we focus on these things, we will have different innovations in the medical treatments. We can address the farming and food challenges, promote the bio-based products. And it is also mentioned in the BioE3 policy that appropriate regularity with the reforms and compelling incentives. And this will reduce the timelines of development and commercialization of this product. But definitely there are threats. We all know ethical challenges. Using AI without considering the ethical part of AI is really having several concerns in our society. So that challenge we have to take care of. At the same time, the social challenges, social stigma, and the awareness building is very much required to overcome the social problems and make AI more useful for all people. And definitely the product cost, because nowadays we are facing the problems of product cost in many cases whenever we want to incorporate the AI part in any normal activities. So that portion also relatively it is going cheaper with time, but with the more faster computation we need. So those part we can address in future. And having the domain of security, IML, computer vision, IoT, 5G, quantum computing, nanoscience, and atmospheric science. At present, we are having the domain expertise of these. So we hope that we will be able to contribute in the BioE3 AI Hub part of this policy. Thank you all for listening.
Thank you, Professor Bandyopadhyay. That was a very nice overview of how triple IT can contribute to the through the policy. May I please request Professor Arunima Biswas from Department of Zoology, Kalyani University, to come and deliver a talk.
Good afternoon to you all. We are not wishing Teachers' Day today because we are on protest. And I am not Professor Arunima Biswas, I am Dr. Arunima Biswas, yet to be a professor. Now, we are hearing about BioE3, a lot about BioE3 in the preceding talks. Now, and we were hearing all the perspectives from the different central institutes that we have in IBMG, ISAR, and IIIT. Now, my talk I have thought about actually talking about where we stand, the perspective from a state university. Now, you might be thinking that how is it so different to be in a central institute and to be working in a state institute or a state university? I must give you a very small example of it. A few minutes ago, there was a power cut in the seminar hall. And immediately the power revived because there is a central generator system that you all are having. But had this been Kolani University, we really would have waited for some time to get the power back. So that is the difference that we have, or you and I have in your institute and my institute. So to have a policy running in the country, the policy cannot run in a country with the central institutes or only with the premier institutes. And the state institutes must take part in the policy, or the state universities must be responsible to make the policy successful. Now, where do we stand? Can we really do it? We already know that it's all about employment, economy, environment, and it's to strengthen India's position and to have the Dikshit Bharat mission successful by 2047. That's what all it is. That's what it is mostly about. Now, since we have already heard about the salient features, we know what it is all about. I'm not going through it once again, but I'd like to say, do we at all fit in? Do Kolani University at all fit in to be a part of this BioE3 project, or BioE3 policy rather? So this is a very old university. As you can see that we were established long back in 1960, and we have a huge number of subjects that is being taught in the university. You can have all the teaching subjects that are there: physics, chemistry, botany, zoology, mathematics, statistics, economics, etc., etc. And with a new age that has come over now, we have the data science, nanotechnology, subjects like data science, nanotechnology, food and nutrition, etc., that has been incorporated very recently. So like you can understand from the kind of subjects we have, that we, even if we do not have a lot of money, we have a lot of human resources, a lot of different subjects who can actually take part in the policy and make it a successful one. And we apparently do fit in the policy. We do. Now, like I said, that the challenges that we normally fit, the first and foremost challenge is a limited funding. What is the limitation in the funding that we have? Like we know that most of the central institutes, they get a seed fund, right? They get something around 10 lakhs, 5 lakhs per year. For their scientists, they have that fund to buy consumables, etc. What we get from our university is rupees 18,000, 18,000 per year, which is called as a personal research grant. So whatever research we do in our university is based on our individual capacities to get projects, and out of that we do whatever research that is possible. So that is the kind of fund constraint we are talking about over here. And obviously there are issues with equipment, facilities, etc., etc. So to be a good fit, we really need to overcome all these hurdles. I am not going to talk about only the negativities, right? Because we have to overcome all these hurdles. Now, we have a unique position. The position that Kolkata University also have is a very unique one. It's in the heart of the city. It's well connected, and right now we are in a position which is very closely linked with ISAR, NIBMG, and other central institutes, BCKV, IIIT, etc. Now, we also have a lot of strategic goals by which we can actually be a part of this entire policy. Now, like I said, since we have a lot of negativities, we need a lot of hand-holding. And for that, we really need to partner with industry, government institutes, and other research institutes. And one such exceptional and successful collaboration might be KIN. Perhaps can be KIN, because we are yet to be a part of KIN officially, because the MOU is due as of now, because we are yet to get the NOC from the state government. That is also another hurdle that we normally face. Now, in spite of that, we have actually a lot of positive things to talk about. Like I was saying, that whatever researches we do, we rely on the individual fundings. And most of the faculties who are with science or with many other subjects have their individual fundings from SCRB, from DBT, from DSTBT, etc., to name a few of them, CSIR, of course, all those fundings are there with the faculties. And the one good thing that we have achieved very recently is we have got a ICSSR project with the handholding of social scientists, natural scientist from the University of Kolkata. In the team, I am there. Dr. Nirashan Sharkar is there. Faculty from Department of Economics is there. A faculty from Rural Development is there. A faculty from Education Department is there. We have a doctor from AIMS Kolkata who has been working with us, and we have a industry partnership. It's a startup guy. He's the human biogenesis guy. He's working with us. This project basically revolves around developing a very home-based kit, a home-based kit, which will give us a glimpse, or which will give us or help in the screening of the gynecological cancer. The technology belongs to me. So this technology will be applied to the people of Indian Sundarbans, where we will go, take their stakeholders' perspective will be understood, and then after that the kit will be provided to them to know or to have the difference in their perspective, and to see whether how good the kit works or whether the technology at all holds or not. So that is the idea, and this project, as you can see, was a special call for Viksit Bharat 2047. This is very much in tune. We think that Viksit Bharat is very much in tune with BioE3, because all the theme of the Viksit Bharat goes with BioE3 policy also. There are 5 themes of Viksit Bharat, which are to have empowered Indians, thriving and sustainable economy, innovation, science and technology, good governance, security, and to have the footfall of India in the entire world. Now, what do we have at University of Kolkata to be a part of this policy is that we have huge space. We have no dearth of space. We have a huge campus, a beautiful one, and we have an incubation center there. And we have state-of-art instruments also. Many of the instruments were funded by DST PARS previously, and then we got RUSA funding to have the incubation center ready. Now, the only problem that we have is whether or not we will get a huge number of incubators there. That is a question to ask over here. And in university, we have an IP policy in place. It's there. The IP policy is there. It's functional, but we are still waiting for the incubators. Maybe with this Dikshit Bharat project, we will be having incubators soon. And maybe with if Kin matures and if we get BioNest ultimately, maybe the problem of incubators will be gone. Then we have a huge herbal and medicinal garden, which is once again maintained by Dr. Neera Sen Sarkar in the University of Kolani. Now, this is a potential hub which can provide you with all the materials that you can perhaps utilize for any kind of research in general, and you can take it to the market also. Now, this herbal and medicinal garden has been already put into commercial ventures. Dr. Sarkar actually is into selling the plants, saplings, and products of the garden to different institutes whenever they ask for it. So there is definitely there is an entrepreneurship outlook to this particular garden. And we have also started a food testing and GI certification laboratory in the University of Kolani. We have got the support from DSTBT, Government of West Bengal. And with the initial funding of the component 10A, RUSA component 10A, we can now give the GI certification to different companies or different MSMEs that might come to us asking for the GI or for the GI testing for a particular product. That we have right now, but furthermore, we really plan to comply, and that will enable us to work with NABL and SSI accreditation as per the government recommendation. Now, the question is, obviously, this is not good enough. So we really need to have many more private public partnerships. Like generally what happens in Western countries is that there are several companies that fund research labs. But we do not have that kind of funding in India. Not very frequently do we have this kind of fundings in India. But we really are looking forward for public-private partnerships right now. And we got to have alternative funding sources also, like crowdfunding, corporate sponsorships, etc. And we have to have training and workshops which will tell us more about the BioE3 policy and encourage students and faculties to be involved in these projects, BioE3 projects, policies. Moreover, in the innovation network or in the entrepreneurship approach, to have new courses on entrepreneurship in the university. So with this, I'd like to thank you all.
Thank you, Dr. Viswas, for a very nice overview of the perspective from a state university. May I please request Professor Nabarun Bhattacharya, who is the head of the department from the Department of Information Technology at MACOT, to kindly give his views.
Very good afternoon. See, it has been my destiny always that I am preceded by very elegant speakers. And mostly, I come at the end of the session where I stand between a tea or yourself or between lunch and yourself. So this time also it repeats. So I'll just start with, I represent MACOT. MACOT is Maulana Abul Kalam Abul Kalam University of Technology. Actually, this is the biggest university in West Bengal because all the technology colleges, all the pharmaceutical colleges, all the management institutes, they are affiliated to MACOT. Now, MACOT being part of, situated in Haringhata and being a component of KIN, that is Kalladi Innovation Network, and this BioE3 policy that really has been announced in the last month itself. So I have been told to talk about something on AI in biomanufacturing. Actually, similar request was made to me when almost 13, 14 years back when Digital India policy came up. There was a policy by Government of India, Digital India, you know, and it came up in such hurry and very short time and with some verticals, some names were there, and where India should really go ahead. I was that time heading CDAC Kolkata, and I was supposed to give a highlight of what Digital India is going to do for the country in a very important seminar. And my situation was same that day as it is today, that BioE3 and AI, what exactly will happen, I am not in a position to figure out. That day also I couldn't figure out. But the outcome of Digital India is today, at every walk of your life, you have digital intervention. And the kind of digital intervention that we have at every walk of our life is 10 times more advanced in terms of technology than an advanced country person uses. Please believe me that a European person, the kind of digital payment we make, they don't have that facility to make digital payment to that tune. And to develop a technology for billions of people, two things are very important. One is it has to be user-friendly. That is, the people in the hinterland, they should be able to use that technology. And number two, it has to be affordable. It has to be cheap. It cannot be a technology which will be very costly, etc. And to develop affordable and very user-friendly technology, you need the highest of knowledge in that technology to develop that. Today, BioE3 policy has come up. Biomanufacturing, hopefully, will really go and take newer dimensions, which not envisaged by us at this stage, maybe. But please know that best of the knowledge, best of the technologies need to be employed towards that. And I'm sure that India, KIN, NIBMG, and all of us individually are ready to take up those kind of challenges. Number two, when we talk of AI, AI is everywhere we talk of AI, everywhere, everybody is talking. But you see, AI is an algorithm which will work on some data. So some data will be the input to a computational model powered by AI algorithms, and it will have some outputs. And that output should be desirably answering the questions that we ask or do we expect that model to give. Now, every computational model, those who are in the research, they'll have that it's how accurate your model is. It is 93%. Oh, it's great. And I have made a marginal improvement in the existing models. So it is 95% accurate. But I'll urge one and all here to really reflect on that this, if your biological model is 97% accurate, will it serve your purpose? I don't know. I'm asking you because suppose you are having a self-driving car. Self-driving car is having 97% accuracy. That means 100 times you apply brake, 3 times it will accelerate. So 3 times it will accelerate. So do you want a model like that? You don't want a model like that. So in biological applications, when it comes to bio manufacturing, it may be making biofuels, it may be making biofertilizers, I don't know what not, maybe medicines. So there, the accuracy, so we should really, once we are talking of AI, there is a branch of AI, it's called explainable AI. So XAI will be the domain we should work for. That explainable AI, which is used for the strategic sectors, defense sectors, where a missile is fired, you can't have this AI driven trajectory correction method. Should have explainable AI. So this is one point I wanted to bring it to your notice. And number two, director was telling, others were also telling, lots of data will be there. Now, I'll just, because I am not biologist, but I am a computer scientist. You know, this normal computation works on von Neumann architecture. Von Neumann architecture is, there will be a processor, there will be a memory, and this processor and memory will talk to each other. When we talk of AI and huge data, genomic data, that means that kind of data has to be stored in a memory, then brought back to the processor, and then go to the memory, and the whole thing, AI will be a hugely power-hungry process. Please know, the power requirement for AI for machine learning will be huge. And the new paradigms people have started thinking of, which is neuromorphic computing. Neuromorphic computing is just like our human system compute. Every neuron has got a memory as well as a processor. Every neuron does the processing itself for the information that it carries. So, neuromorphic computing is the next generation computing, which will be very important, especially for the kind of data you handle. And in the wake of BioE3 policy, I urge that AI and neuromorphic computing should be taken up together so that the new generations, new paradigms of applications can be rolled out. And with this, I'll just stop my talk. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Bhattacharya. At this stage, before moving into the panel discussion, if there are any questions from the audience for any of the speakers, we can take them. Any comments, any questions? If nothing, then.
Before this BioE3, did we had any strategy, policy, something like that in the country? So basically,
which is linked with productivity, employment. This is the first time it has actually government has defined.
so basically, we are almost 20 years behind the European Union.
Yeah, that is true.
Because they published first in 2007.
So I think it is a very interesting talks have been already been delivered. So as a medical institute where from I belong, so actually there is some concerns actually. I'm not telling you it is concerns because recently that One Health concept has come, which has incorporated environment and health. And it is told as a one component singly as whole thing to be taken as an integral model. So in that sense, BioE3 is welcome decision, obviously, but the component what computer AI system has been told, that how this sustainability will be actually taken to the medical field, because biotherapeutics, as you told, I also mentioned that it is precision medicine and all these things. It's basically dependent on the AI-based system. And then all these components are having in each of the institutes, but whenever we talk about this sustainability, always we have to have pumping the funds. So these funds, government is there anything, because you are there in the this concept building, that time whether it has been taken into consideration that how the government and the public private partnerships will be distributed so that actually it will be sustainable, because as the AI sir has already mentioned that it is a huge cost involved, and we cannot afford to have errors in the system, because the errors will be obviously there in any system, any model. So in that context, my question is that, a concern is that how the sustainability will be in long run, it will be running. So that is one important open questions probably. Thank you.
Give little bit whatever I can answer the question. Um, honest thing is that the details, granularity of the BioE3 policy are yet to be rolled out by the government. That how the integration will happen between the existing policies like One Health and the BioE3 policy. They are not mutually exclusive by any stretch of imagination. There are a lot of overlap. There will be Venn diagram. If we draw it, there will be overlap between the two. Just, in fact, significant overlap. But whether the funds which are there for the existing will be continuing as they are, and whether there will be new infusion of funds, we really don't know at this moment. What the talk has been going on is that the funding for, there will be separate funding for this policy, and this will be across institutions, universities and private entities also. There will be funding across them. The calls will not be only for institutions, the calls will be for trying to have a holistic view of people like kin and network policies, where they will be able to address the questions in a much more broader scale. So the calls will not be as in IBMG alone probably getting money in that way. They have to show that, okay, they are actually reaching out to the community and taking in the last mile connectivity to everywhere. So that is something which is has been the thought process which is there. The second thought process is about whether whether this money will come from where. Who will fund this policy? So government is trying, as far as I understand, is trying hugely to bring the industry into the field. Is trying to bring and it's CII. Today also there was an email which we are going to have a CII meeting maybe on 11th of the month. So I'm trying to understand how the CII and Confederation of Indian Industry, other industry heads can actually help in the policy to be a successful policy. Because government simply doesn't have the money. I'm being very honest about it. Government doesn't have the money to fund a policy of this size. Then if he has to fund a policy, it has to be 1/7 or 1/8 of the amount of things, and probably the money will again go to very select few, and which is not the wish of the government. Government wants to bring the industry in, but the problem is also about the industry. The industry has their own set of wishes. Industry has their own set of thought processes, and it is something which there is a little carrot and stick going on between the different stakeholders, and government is giving some carrots and some expecting some carrots and giving some amount of stick to the industry also to be the partners of this policy. So suppose there is, you all of you know, and there is a new agency called Anusandhan, ANRF. So many of the many of the funds through the ANRF will be possibly looked at through the BioE3 policy using the industry money. And the fact remains that it will be extremely competitive, but I think it will remain as something which will allow a much more democratization of the science as what we know today.
Well, I think now we can move on to the panel discussion. So I would now hand over the mic to Dr.
So when I was contacting each one of the dignitaries of the KIN, it came up that other than standalone lectures, it will be very useful to have a panel discussion because they can share their experiences in an interactive way. So for this panel discussion, we would now invite Professor Kalyan Goswami from AIIMS Kalyani. Dr. Saptarshi Chatterjee from Adamas. Thank you for coming because you were there, I know, in a very distant place in Narendrapur and you came all the way from there. And then we have Professor Neera Sen Sarkar. Professor Nabarun Bhattacharya. Professor Sandeep Singh from NIBMG. And Dr. Dilip Kumar from NIBMG. We need another person there. Yeah, I'll invite Professor Arindam Maitra to please come on stage. So, Alpana. Hands-free microphone. So in this panel discussion, I'll just start with one of the panelists, and we'll ask a interesting question that have come up to our minds when we are organizing this workshop, and then we can take it forward by interacting with the other members. Like I would come to Professor Kalyan Goswami. Since you are from a clinical background in a clinical institute, how do you see the skilled manpower in the clinics? How will they be engaged in this entrepreneurship? Doctors and entrepreneurship, how do you find that this will be more involved?
Thank you for giving me opportunity to talk in this forum. Obviously, a very important question you have asked. The skill, as far as concerned, the clinical skills and the medical diagnostic skills or whatever the clinical requirements are there for the patient service. Obviously, it is quite good for the AIIMS like institute. But second thing is that more important thing which you have told about, that you ask something different thing, that how it will be helpful for in BioE3 system. So there is the question that entrepreneurship, as of now, government has not allowed the AIIMS type of institute and faculty to take part as a direct entrepreneurs. So that is a big issue that we are also thinking in that way, that how we'll be helping the process, because there are some, through KIN, we have got some incubators. These 4 incubators has already came to us. One is Monosa Biotech has come there for snake venom things. So our forensic medicine department is working on them with them. And second, there is a Sterovis company has come to us. They have told about some implants, which are basically titanium-based implants, so which are specifically designed for implant development for direct use for the individualistic way, which is not done in other cases. So these are the things which are coming up. And some diagnostic kit development for POCT applications, that is also coming up. But the entrepreneur by the faculty is, as of now, has not been permitted by the government. And as the nature of the job is concerned for the medical faculty is that they are 24/7 instead of any other scientific institutes. So there is a requirement that they should be available all the time. If they are all the time available for the patient service and other services of the healthcare, then obviously there is a problem that how they will be giving time for that particular entrepreneur work. So there is a challenge in this area. Hopefully, we'll make a time frame so that some of the activities can be shared by the faculty who are interested in doing this type of work. So this type of work has been now recently ICMR DHR, that is Department of Health Research, has specifically given some funds for the PhD, doing PhD in science for the clinical people. Particularly, they have mentioned that that should not be from basic science, that should be from the clinical science and super specialties like cardiology, nephrology, all these super specialties, which we call DM specialties. So these people have applied, 6 people have applied from our institute, and 4 people have got this selection shortlisted, and they will be probably getting some 50 lakhs grant for 5 years time. So that is something which is a good thing from the government side, which is trying to help from the ICMR point of view. So I think it will be an impetus for the clinical people to come up with the scientific ideas and their thoughts, and they can actually deliver to this type of concepts.
Thank you for your information. And Dr. Saptarshi, as I have visited your place several times, and please share your experience. How difficult was it to bring academic people, industry, government funding together to establish such bioincubation, BioUva, EUVA centers in a private university?
So if I start, 4 years back, 4.5 years back, one of our advisor from our university called me and said, can you take charge of the incubator? And I said, sir, we have lab technicians. Why do you require an assistant professor to take charge of an incubator? So that was my knowledge about incubator. So then when I started working on it, I have seen that the 2 oldest incubators are in West Bengal. One is IIM-CIP and the other one is STP, Science, Technology and Entrepreneur Spark. Perhaps at that time, entrepreneurship word was not that buzzword. But when we started working on it, I found that in most of the case, people were expecting that entrepreneurs will reach out to them. So what happened? People who are inclined in business created startups. Now, if the incubator even do not exist, they will create their business. So as a result, if you will see that most of these startups are typically not the Bengali people. Those were from other part of the country into Bengal, and they created startups. But my question was, how many of the students who came to a university for studying, he has created startup? How many of the faculty who is doing research in the lab has created a startup? So that was the starting point when I started working on it. And the first thing I faced is a lot of hindrance from the faculty pool, because we are always a single-minded, and it's a vertical mobility, BSc to MSc, MSc to PhD, PhD to postdoc, and postdoc to question mark. Because at the time when we reach postdoc and ask back to all our maybe postdoc guide, PhD guide, school teacher, college teacher, they would say, now I don't take responsibility of your career. But they have been inspiring us to do in the same way. So when I started to shift myself, I intentionally stopped applying for research grant and applied for grant where innovation and entrepreneurship can be done. And I was very much fortunate that we got the first support from BioE3, that is, and established the first BioE3 supported center in West Bengal. Secondly, we have also in the verge of opening the first Niti Aayog supported center in West Bengal, that is Atal Community Innovation Center. So I felt that now there are several student teams who have got grant. Student from rural college, I will give you a very good example of NEP. A student team from Horipal College, it's a very rural college. They are students of history who have applied for a biotechnology grant under a zoology faculty. And in the presentation, they have mentioned unit economics, that if 1 rupee is the price of this, 30 paise I spend on this, 10 paise I spend on this. So that is the change I am seeing. The capacity is there in West Bengal, but again, it requires a thrust and push from every sphere, right from the faculty level to the policy level. I have been successful in creating a policy for my university. I know it's a private university, so it has been easier. But students who take up entrepreneurship, that is considered as his internship, that is considered as his dissertation. And believe me, last semester I got a student who, all the students are normally feared during their dissertation presentation because there will be a panel of 5 to 6 scientists or professors. And my student gave a three PowerPoint slide presentation. The first slide was the company name with MCA license. The second was the product on the table, and the third was the FASI license. And believe me, within 40 seconds, his dissertation presentation was over, while all the people appreciated, because no one is there to challenge him back, because no one knows what is a corporate law. No one knows how to get a FASI license. So he was above even the scientists sitting in front. So I think that's the power our students have. We need to tap it, and I think that's the way. So my submission would be, BioE3 policy is very big, but the easiest way to apprehend that is, can we go to a pharmacy store and say, this product is made by me or my researchers? Can we go to a grocery shop and say, this product is made by me or my scientist friends? And can we go to an agrochemical shop or chemical or agrochemical shop and say, this chemical or fertilizer is made by us? So until it goes to the market, our entire research, I feel, it's a personal opinion, has no value. Thank you.
So I have another connected question to you. This is regarding the IP. I have seen that you people have a great IP team there. So how does this IP team foster the interests of both the entrepreneur and the scientist and the intern?
So again, if I have to go a little back, when I was doing my PhD at University of Kalyani, one day Dr. Mahua Homchoudhury, who heads the IP cell of Government of West Bengal, came for a presentation, and I went to her saying that, ma'am, I am working in this domain, can this be patented? She said, why not? My guide was kind enough to allow me. I went to her and I applied for a couple of patents. But truly saying, that was a tremendous humiliation I faced from the entire academic fraternity, who cursed me at every step of my life, saying, "Are ekta bachcha chele tumi ekhon IP file korcho, patent file korcho, kobe research korbe, kobe PhD korbe." So that was the humiliation way back in 2014, because that time it was not a common thing. It took 8 years for me to get 2 patents. So perhaps I don't know the exact statistics, but very less number of students during their PhD get a patent on their own. So that haunts me. And so when again at the university level, we created a policy for our innovators. We made it that the IP lies with the innovator, neither with the university, nor we claim, nor the scientific community claims. And we are happy that even BioE3 doesn't claim. So when a fellow, our undergraduate fellow, gets an IP, believe me, there are colleges where undergraduate students have applied for patent, while several research institutes doesn't have a good patent portfolio. Our undergraduate student team innovators have got copyrighted their software, while many of them doesn't have. So we are very honest in our approach. We are very transparent that whoever IP it is, it should lie with them. Because we have also seen that several institutes claim IP. As a result, when they try to raise fund, what happens? They require a NOC, and it takes 6 months to get an NOC, because then it will be escalated till level X. No one knows who will give the NOC. So IP should lie with the innovator. That's the policy we have adopted. Our faculty members are applying for patents, copyright, trademark, and please don't deceive people saying, I have got a design patent. I have seen this. Some of the institutes claim, I mean, even I have seen IIT claiming that we have 200 patents. And when I've asked that please show it, they have shown 50 plus are industrial design registration. Design registration comes under Design Registration Act 2000, patent comes under Indian Patent Act 1970, complete separate thing. So please let us not try to deceive, let us get IP in the true sense and let the innovators succeed.
Okay, thank you. So Dr. Meera, you are from a university, and university has these, like what Dr. Saptarshi told, they have these students and they are more poised towards doing internships, and now entrepreneurship is the new word. So how in Kalyani University you encourage students to take up this alternate form of academia, other than doing this PhD postdoc, what he is saying, that rather than going to the entrepreneurship, are there any focused courses on that, or what is the plan?
Half the things have been answered by Dr. Arunima, and another half by Dr. Saptarshi, because he has told you about the scenario that a state university has. And apart from that, we are still striving very hard to get ourselves into the mode which probably will take us towards fulfilling the objectives of this E3 policy, BioE3 policy. So what we have in our mind right now is, of course, a setup where we can promote entrepreneurship, and the courses, of course, we couldn't define in the way that you are asking, because there is again a lot of inhibition and a lot of opposition, as Dr. Saptarshi was telling, from the entire faculty. But still, there is a good number of teachers, good number of faculties who are really interested in going forward, taking this issue forward. And so we also have a IP policy in place, where the IP policy actually gives the protection to, of course, the innovator. It's only the institute's name that is mentioned, and we promote that, and we encourage the faculty members, the research scholars, and we arrange many programs also. So we have patent clinics, we have idea clinics that have been held over the last year or so, so that people come up, students come up with their ideas and talk to us, and then we go through the whole process of getting the IPs. We also have a startup initiative where I would say that we are encouraging people to come with the startups to our place, because as Dr. Arunima was saying, that we have a huge incubating space ready, available. We have a food lab. We have a huge herbal garden where there is a whole lot of resources available for laboratory testing, screening, and many institutes have been very interested in going ahead with finding out things. And lastly, like we had also tried for the STI hub, setting up the STI hub, which is Science and Technology Innovation Hub, which unfortunately didn't come to our university with all our problems against it. But then we successfully got this Viksit Bharat program. Yesterday only we got the approval. And this project will definitely take what Arunima has in mind to the people of Sundarbans. And within the entrepreneurship program of this project, we intend to bring the youth of the Sundarbans to our place, train them in manufacture of the prototype that will be developed during the process, and manufacture it in the rural areas itself, so that it is taken to the masses. So probably that appealed to the ICSSR, and they have given us this project. So this is probably our first step towards an entrepreneurship program.
So as a university faculty, you often interact with different kinds of students. Do you find a paradigm shift in their outlook of going to this entrepreneurship after doing BSc, MSc?
Absolutely. There is a whole lot of shift in their minds, because they get to interact with students who are in private universities, who are in institutes, and that kind of motivates them also. Like Dr. Saptarshi was saying, even this year, I too had a student in my special paper who did not go that far, but the girl actually could manufacture a herb, what should I say? It's a herbal plastic derived from algal base, and it actually covers juices, etc. So we are kind of trying to make those blobs, and we have gone through the process of finding out what is exactly the patent scenario regarding this kind of invention. And the girl has already completed her 4th semester, but she's still coming to my lab so that we can take the thing further. So that is, slowly taking steps further.
Thank you. So I'll go to Professor Nabarun Bhattacharya. So how do you think the BioAI hubs can scale up this biomanufacturing process? And in this connection, as we know, there is a shortage of skilled manpower in bioinformatics, because those of us who, during our times, those of us who used to take biology are those that don't like to do physics, mathematics, all those kinds of stuff. So now there is an interconnection between biology and informatics. So where from the skilled manpower will come, and how will this be, in this BioAI hubs? They will be working in the BioAI hubs, and that will entail to a bigger picture of the biomanufacturing process.
What was your first question? That is,
so how these BioAI hubs are going to foster the biomanufacturing process?
So actually, this BioAI hub, which will really empower, enable, and foster the growth of biomanufacturing. AI job in biomanufacturing or any other manufacturing, they almost will remain similar. Only the AI framework for any manufacturing, let us try to understand. Suppose we are manufacturing some food product. So some raw materials will come, there will be pre-processing, there will be further stages of processing, maybe fermentation, maybe drying, maybe online quality control. So what exactly will happen in that manufacturing process? In the critical unit operations of that manufacturing, you should have appropriate sensors to be in place so that data is gathered. And those sensors these days are not only sensors, because sensor means some natural parameter is sensed. That means in nature is analog, nature is not digital. So analog data is captured from the nature, that is sensor. These days, sensor has got a little twist. They are called IoTs, because along with sensing, they do some communication of this data, and in between, conversion of that analog data to digital data. What is digital data? The data that can be read, understood, interpreted by computers or these mobile phones or your laptops. So there will be IoTs all around in any manufacturing process. So for biomanufacturing also, similar things. Maybe for monitoring pH, maybe for monitoring humidity, moisture, temperature, or the gases that is coming out in that manufacturing. So there will be sensors. Thereafter, this data will be aggregated together in some place. And these days, for where a lot of data is being collected, there will be cloud-based repository. And based on that data collected, on real time, there will be control actions generated. Suppose somewhere temperature has gone high, then immediately moist air needs to be blown, or somewhere the flow rate has been needs to be modulated based on the requirement of the quality. So this kind of real-time online monitoring are the need of the hour for even biomanufacturing, for any other automation, any other manufacturing. Specialty being, since you are making biological things, maybe medicines, so it has to be more precise, more accurate, and it has to be fault tolerant, so that there has to be the hot standby mechanisms should be inbuilt so that it should not fail. Question number 2, now to handle this kind of things, you need the manpower, and that's what these days in the technology field in general, and especially AI and computer science technology in particular, the verb change. See, we learned tense, no? That present tense, past tense, then past continuous, present continuous. But this particular word called change is only having present continuous tense. These days, students should not be taught that this verb has got other tenses also, because every day it is changing. Technology is changing, and we have to really unlearn the real people, those who want to really come into this biomanufacturing through this BioE3 policy. They should first unlearn, then relearn, and keep this process loop continuing till this developments continue. Otherwise, there will be a lot of unemployable people in days to come in this domain.
Okay. So I'll go to now NIBMG faculties. So Sandeep, as a basic scientist, how do you find yourself in this, or us? You represent us in this panel, basic scientists. How do you think we need to go in the coming 5 years to amalgamate ourselves with the BioE3 policy in specific and in general with entrepreneurship from our research, inventions, or discoveries?
Right. That's a very pertinent question for all basic scientists. When these kind of policies come where this is linked with some economical growth of the economic growth of the country and Viksit Bharat mission and means lot of vision given to us. So it becomes a lot of responsibility to us that how we enhance our capability as a basic scientist and what we contribute as a basic science to the society so that the government's mission can be fulfilled. So as Professor Mehta also suggested, like biotherapeutics, as a basic scientist like me, I will see myself developing some biotherapeutics, some biological process driven small molecules like proteins, which we generally import. Basically, we use a lot of cell culture materials, growth factors, hormones, which we generally import from all big manufacturers through MNCs. So as the entrepreneur, we are all sitting here, young students, they are all using these kind of biomaterials in their research. So they should actually see and vision that maybe in their generation, they should be self-reliant rather than keep importing all these very costly materials from outside. And that will definitely boost the economy of the country also. So, so this is one thing. As a basic scientist, I also see myself responsible for developing those kind of skill sets, which will be useful for performing those kind of research or those kind of abilities which will be given to the next generation of scientists coming, who will do all these things probably on their daily basis. So as a basic scientist, I see these two things, and probably others can also contribute in that answer.
With this note, I'll also go to our very new faculty, Philip. You have just come from foreign and have become a faculty in India. How do you envisage this transition? Like, you have come from a place where I think everything was available, and now you have come to a place where you have to struggle a lot to get things done and all. Like, we all have to go through it. So how do you see this change of environment? And from there, as you told that Europe had a policy previously, we are now having a policy. So a holistic picture as a newcomer, what is your view on it?
So here actually I realize what I learned in the Singapore that it is a way of thinking, right? So, for example, Illumina, it is a billion-dollar company. How it started? That started with the basic science, right? It started in the Cambridge, UK. And the inventors were two scientists, basic scientists. One was Bala Subramanian, and second was Kleinerman, two. So basically, that's what I learned in Singapore under A-Star, that they will make you change your way of thinking about your research. So basically, maybe whatever you studied and you have results, you have to think the way it is an invention, not just a results. So that's what I learned in A-Star. And that's how I got my first patent, world patent. So I did not know that it is a patentable. So basically, it is an interaction and way of thinking that this could be patented. And if we don't have patent, that is not considered as innovation, because patent protects the rights, right? So basically, even whatever, for example, any product which is launched in the market, company has to buy multiple patents. It is not just one patent. Company has to buy hundreds of patents to launch one product. So whoever has the highest valuable patent, that rules the world. That's what is happening right now. For example, I give you a very basic example. We are the topmost importer, one of the topmost importer of chemicals. I got surprised. But we are the topmost importer of API. API is the basic fundamentals of the drugs. But we are happy that we are the topmost exporter of the generic drug. But we never discussed that where elements are produced. So basically, BioE3 will help that. So basically, BioE3 will support the innovation. That will give you the rights, copyrights, or patent. Then you control your API or your whatever you invent, and then you control your own thing, product. That happens also on the remdesivir. I was in Singapore. Here people were struggling to just get the antiviral because it was not our invention. So basically, everybody want to save first own family. So basically, US decided to save their own country. So they have to first provide their own people, then they will give you. So we have to learn from this pandemic to be self-reliant, and BioE3 will help us in that.
Good. So, Arindamda, you have been, working on different technologies in your entire life, and you have seen the journey of genomics from candidate gene to GWAS to NGS, now to single cell. Where do you see precision biotherapeutics fits in, and like in such diseases like cancer, where lots and lots of such technological advancements have opened up newer frontiers in cancer?
Thank you, Shobik. So everything was very interesting. I mentioned a little bit of that in my earlier time when I spoke that so precision biotherapeutics, which is one of the key elements of this BioE3 policy, looks at providing the right drug or the right treatment, not the right drug, the right treatment to the right individual at the right point of time, which means early on, you identify the patient so that that person can be given, understand what the problem is, and be given a treatment which addresses that problem. So this combination is what is precision biotherapeutics, and that is where we have seen how genomics evolve and then how other omics technologies have evolved, fueled by the initial thirst that genomics provided. We had the sequence the human genome, and immediately in the next few months, there was a talk of the proteome. So human proteome. And so that we have seen how technologies have changed, how they have evolved, enabling us to ask deeper questions which can give us very precision, develop this kind of precision solutions. Those require very high-end data, and they require very high ability to analyze and interpret that data so that that can be translated to this kind of solutions. But in the whole process, although your question was not aimed at that, and we are nearing the end of the day, a lot of discussions, so I will end what I am saying by telling a small story, which I cooked up right now, and even a smaller statement. The story goes like this, that there was a big forest and then deers were reared there by the competent authority, so that the people, they're nice looking, people will enjoy looking at them. But then what happened, what happens is deers eat vegetation. So there were uncontrolled deers and nothing else but deers, so they started having a lot of afforestation. Then people thought that we have to get down the deer population, so they brought in a pack of newly produced or trained leopards in that field. And idea is that deers eat grass, leopards eat deer, so balance continues. So this started happening. So there was this deer one day who was eating a lot of grass and then found a leopard starting to run towards it. So it started running for its life. The leopard started running after the deer, and at the end the deer got tired, fell down and found the leopard approaching the deer. So the deer cried in alarm and said, "Help, help, I am being killed by the leopard." The leopard kept on coming, pounced on the deer and said, "Shut up, don't be a fool. I am trained how to run, but not how to kill." So in this whole policy, what I am saying is we are talking of biotherapeutics, we are talking of BioE3. This is the next generation, right? So we have to have next generation trained human resource. We need to have programs which will produce students who think in a different way. And how do BRIC NIBMG and BRIC per se will contribute? Already there is a small step made in that direction. So it is that we have this I3C this student program, PhD program. That's one example, but similar things can be had, where we should have different ways of, come away from that way of training PhD students, but ask them to, we have this I3 stands for ideate, immerse, and innovate. So we take them together, give them ideas, then send them out on some trainings where they, in a different kind of industry, different places, where they come back with further training, and then they start innovating. So we have to think of those next generation training programs so that we can generate this kind of biotherapeutics and also make a successful use of the BioE3 policy. Thank you.
Yeah, with this note, very encouraging note actually.
So one 30-second.
Yes, of course.
Actually, net zero. Net zero. We talk about net zero. You know how it is linked with the economy. 24 or 28 countries are going to charge you, tax you for the carbon emission. And 48 has already signed. India is resisting. So if we export a $700 billion, for example, to Western country, if they charge 0.1%, that will be the amount we can build 10 M's. So basically, then why we don't engineer, because we are agricultural country. So design or engineer a crop that absorb the carbon. And we have very good people. So it has a very specific mechanism. It absorbs CO2 24 hours and releases O2 24 hours. So basically, that's what E3 will change the way of thinking.
Yes. So the ultimate motto is to change the way of thinking. We should not think like Dr. Saptarshi started with that note. Arindamda encouraged us with, we are only trained to run and not to kill. And lastly, Dilip ended with this, that we should change our way of thinking. And as university faculties are saying, clinicians are saying that they are finding paradigm shifts in youngsters who are now not only thinking of doing MSc, BSc, MSc, PhD, postdoc, but they're also thinking of running startups and building up entrepreneurship during their internships in summer internships. And with this, we are just having a, another event where our students will actually give their innovative ideas. And we are all very thrilled to know about these ideas. Whether or not we can fund it, it goes to our competent authority. But Alpana, you can take charge. Thank you all for this panel discussion.
Hello. Good afternoon. My name is Priyadarshi Basu. So we have a very exciting session coming up. So these are 9 of our star students who are going to present their ideas, pitch in with their ideas, and it's really fitting that this particular mini symposium is coming to an end with students, because they are the ones who will bring in fresh ideas, and they are the ones who are our future. We as oldish people sometimes think very rigidly. So let's hear from them. So these are 2-minute talks, and we'll go by alphabetical order. So the speakers are Aniket Kumar, followed by Aritra Gupta, followed by Dhanashri Khedekar, followed by Joydeep Das, then Jyotishman Sharma, then Kallol Datta, then Proshun Paja, then Tehsin Ahmed, and finally Shankona. Okay. Aritra?
So good morning all, I'm Aniket Kumar, and good afternoon, good evening all. So it's very nice and it was very informative for us to know about this BioE3 program. So as a scientist, become not as a scientist, as a future scientist or as something to become. So I always think that what we are doing, like we are why we are doing this PhD for our career or money or something like that. But we should always think in mind that we have to make life of the people better by our research. So at the end of the day, the benefit of what we will do or what we are doing, even the small contribution or that we are making, should go to the people. So and also like these kind of policies gives us like kind of freedom to do research. So suppose like we want to build some prognostic model, or we want to see some association with a gene to some of the disease, or many things that can be done. So we will eventually do, but these kind of policies, like we have to move in this direction, like we have to move in bio manufacturing. Suppose we have found some leads, we have found some signatures. So how to translate those signatures to the for manufacturing, and how eventually it will benefit to the common people. So I think this policy will improve a lot of things. And also like right now, most of the country, like African country, are suffering from drought. Like all of you may have heard that Namibian government have ordered to kill 723 wild animals, including 83 animals. So that hunger can be fulfilled by biotechnology, right? Like with the microbial derived food, with the help of microorganism, those can be done. So but animals are being killed, and also climate change is happening. So this climate change can be can be tackled with the help of biotechnology. And also a lot of people are dying with diseases, cancer, and a lot of things. So that can be tackled with the help of biotechnology. So we have to work and make a future, make a future such that there should be no diseases, nothing like that. And also like regarding the idea, so I have like a basic idea that most of the common thing, like basic thing what we do is eat, right? Having diet. So with the help of so we have to develop such technology, like we have lot of association studies, Jiva's data, lot of association data. So by looking at the DNA sequence of an individual, such diet should be like so this is kind of a business idea, like a kind of diet company. So give the individual diet recommendation according to the according to its genome. So thank you.
Good evening. I'm Dhanashri, and I'll be pitching my idea today for the BioE3 policy. So, one of the areas BioE3 is dealing with is smart proteins, and also biotherapeutics. So, what I'm thinking is integration of both these arms of BioE3, where the idea is very simple. Actually, is that nowadays for diagnostics of infection, the standard methods are PCR or cultures, like bacterial cultures. But what we normally do in the lab is also methods like antibody staining and fluorescence-based assays for detection of any protein. It is a standard technique used in the lab. So what if we can use this for diagnosis and detecting the bacteria in the swabs itself? So it will reduce the time required for diagnosis substantially, and it will also help the quick diagnosis and prophylaxis as well. Effort has been done in this direction so far. People have generated fluorescence-based assays targeting the broad spectrum, like LPS or LTA, which targets a broad spectrum of bacteria, but targeted a specific species level detection has not been yet done, and this has not at all been explored for infectious agents like viruses and parasites. So this is the gap that can be dealt with. And although there are issues with the quantification of the infectious agent in the swab, and there are things that need to be fine-tuned, but this can be developed into a marketable product which is helpful for diagnosis, as well as helpful in situations like pandemics, which will be a great innovation for a country like India, especially where there is such a huge burden of population. So this can be one of the things we can do under BioE3. Thank you.
Thank you, Dhanashri. That was very nice. Our next speaker is Joydeep.
Good evening, everyone. I think I'm audible quite well. So the thing is, many things has been told already, like how we could do things with what we got. I just want to add few points, like sustainable development. That is the point. So waste to biofuel kind of things. India is using biofuel and waste to fuel energy is only 0.1%. If we can take it to just 1%, like tenfold increase, it could change the whole energy scenarios that market and the life influenced by it. That is one point. Another thing is the sustainable development that targets the climate change and so on kind of things. This could be targeted for the areas like tribal areas, because they are more close to environment. I think that then more of us, like we are living in cities. So for changing those kind of regions, this could be a viable option. Another thing is that is also been told, like we are much dependent on foreign companies for some reagents like antibodies and so on and so on. This could be produced in India to be self-dependent. And like Genome India project, we are making our own human genome for India basis. We could make some ITCC kind of thing, like India type cell cultures, this kind of thing. And this could be a really progressive thought, because what we are doing basically, these are kind of for foreign kind of genomic structure, and that might not work well for India's. So that's all.
Thank you, Joydeep. That was very nice. Next speaker is Jyotishman.
Good evening, everyone. So we have heard a lot about the BioE3 policy, and we hope that the coming generation of the future scientists of India will find it really a like foundation step in the near future. So what I want to pitch in front of the committee is a very futuristic idea. So we have heard Elon Musk saying a lot of things in like near future and also in currently. So one of the product that he is suggesting is Neuralink. Okay, so Neuralink is something that will be working to help the patients who has lost the neurodegeneration or something like that. So I want to present one idea that is like called biobots. So like biobots, how if we can integrate the biorobotics, which like biotherapeutics in diagnosis and also delivery of the drugs. So like there will be, imagine one kind of, it's a vehicle which is moving in your arteries or in your cells or tissues. So this is the idea that actually came up in my mind like long back. So if there can be technologies developed in that level that we can actually transport one car in our arteries that are blocked in our heart or maybe in our brain, which are not accessible by surgical methods or some other invasive methods. So like endoscopy, normal endoscopy or colonoscopy that we do, that was also very futuristic at one point of time. So I hope in coming 10 years of time, will be kind of able to develop something like biobots, which will be actually going to our exact locations for diagnosis and also the delivery of the drugs. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jyotishman. Excellent. Our next speaker is Kallol.
So good afternoon, everyone. So I'll start with the problem statement that actually in biomanufacturing it is being used. So it is the use of Chinese hamster ovary cell line for the production of monoclonal antibodies. So this is a certain type of therapeutic protein, helps in treatment of cancer and autoimmune diseases. So what we know so far is that there are two pathways involved, protein synthesis and glycosylation. There are three key genes, XBP1, GS, that is glutamine synthetase, and beta cell lymphoma. What are the current methodology known that these acts separately? So if you overexpress XBP1, it can enhance protein folding, and in turn, it can handle stress from overproduction of proteins. Next, GS, that is the glutamine synthetase. So if it improves the nutrient metabolism, optimizes growth and productivity of CHO cells. Number 3, the beta cell lymphoma. It adds to prevent apoptosis. Okay. Now these mechanisms all act independently of each other. This is the currently known. So research is going on. What if we can engineer them and look at the co-expression? So these things do not act in isolation. So now first idea is to look in gene-gene interaction, that is the synergy, how these three things act together and how these involve the overall cell's resources. So, and the next thing to look about is the multi-omic integration. So in genomics, what we do, we identify the genes which overexpress. In transcriptomics, we look at the change in RNA level. Proteomics, we see that how these gene modifications affect the levels and foldings of protein. In metabolomics, we sort of glutamine metabolism and then look about the overall cellular metabolism. The idea is if we do multi-omic integration, we can predict the unintended side effects. And the last point is that using machine learning, so there is a technique called transfer learning. So you have already pre-trained models on some data set, and now rather than building a model from scratch, you just take it and deploy in your own data set. So already models are available on XBP1 overexpression dataset. So how can I look into the interaction effect of these three genes by incorporating information from that dataset? Suppose I have a model developed on yeast cell line. So how can I use that to predict in CHO cell line? So these are my three ideas because I work in computational biology. And I think if you can fund me, then it will be very helpful. Thank you.
Thank you, Kallub. That was very nice. We have Proshun next.
Hello. Hello, everyone. So nowadays, this is the age of big data, and we all know storing data in a very efficient way is really challenging, and the encryption is also very challenging for us. So my idea is that if we can convert the data in a structure like our chromosome is constructed, like we convert the data in a genotypic way, and for query, we send a RNA-like structure there to retrieve the data from it. That would be really helpful because it does not require that much amount, because we can store the encrypted data in very small space. And when we retrieve the data, then the actual data would be really large. So that can be a really small amount of space can be required for a large amount of data. And the efficient use of electricity is also required for this, because nowadays the flash drives use a large electric current to retrieve or to store the data. But in this way, we can also reduce the electricity use. And not only that, the encryption would be really good. So without knowing the proper key, nobody can hack or can decrypt the data. So without knowing the proper key, so if I am the owner or I am the user of the data, I have the full key. But if I don't have the full key, I cannot retrieve the whole data. So that is my idea to decrypt the data through a genetic algorithm. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. That was very nice, Proshun. Our next speaker is Tehsin.
Yeah. So to reduce the hello. Yeah. So to reduce the burden of petroleum imports in as well as the carbon footprint of India as a nation, the government of India has actually started a program long back, that is ethanol blending. Now this E20 ethanol, that how we describe it is that 20% will be ethanol and the rest 80% will be gasoline. To achieve this target by 2025, the total amount of ethanol that we need, it has been estimated to be 10 billion liters. Now, to achieve such a humongous feat, what we need here and what the government is also pushing is the use of 2G ethanol production. Now, 2G ethanol is the second generation ethanol production where, unlike molasses, we use products like the rice straws and other non-edible sources. The idea is to convert these into free sugars by enzymes that are produced by microbes as well as certain fungus. What we need to do is that it's not sufficient to use this fungus. We have to genetically, we have to modify, we have to engineer them in such a way to increase the production. Now, there are metabolic engineering techniques, then promoter engineering. There are, we can produce transgenic organisms to actually maximize the output of these enzymes. Now, what I would like to very unconventionally pitch in, and IBMG being a biomedical genomics institute, but we have the expertise of molecular biology and we have the expertise of biology, so that we can will be able to know if we want to that we have and in collaboration with other institutes to achieve such a humongous industrial target. Thank you.
Thank you, Tehsin. That was very nice. Now we have Shanko.
Good evening, everyone. So today I am going to pitch an idea on that actually aligns with BioE3 policy. So in BioE3 policy, there has been a section that has been written that will be on astronaut microbiome. So I am pitching on the idea on astronaut microbiome, and to be precise, I will be pitching on how microbiome can actually help in maintaining the astronaut's health while they are traveling in space. So I'll be giving a short introduction. So probiotics, as you know, probiotics have been mostly designed based on the Western gut microbiome, and Western gut microbiome mostly predominated by specifically Bifidobacterium or bacteroids. And also those probiotics are actually specifically based on lactobacillus strains, some lactobacillus strains and Bifidobacterium strains. But our Indian gut microbiome mostly predominates with different kinds of bacteria like Prevotella. So our own probiotics will be different from them, but we have not that much developed on that thing based on our Indian gut microbiome reference. So my idea is we have to collaborate with a specific company or a small company who will develop probiotic. And already we know that ISRO is actually planning to send our astronauts to space through Gaganyaan mission, and they have already selected 2 or 3 such candidates, such persons who are actually currently doing training. They are in rigorous training to go to space. So our main idea is we have to take different samples from those individuals. Currently, they are in their full physical health because they are in good training. Those astronauts, we have to take samples from them: gut samples, skin samples, nasal samples, all those things. And when they will go, this is before going to the space. And when they will go to space, periodically I think for each day we should take their samples because each of the individual's gut microbiome will be different, and based on that, if they have some problem in space due to radiation, due to microgravity, because studies have shown that microgravity and radiation will actually alter gut microbiome and skin microbiome. Because in space, it has been reported that the astronauts are having skin rashes and also different kind of bowel problems. So to maintain their health, the probiotics has to be specific for those persons. And it is also a stressed condition in space because microbiome has been known to actually associated with hormones like serotonin. Those are happy hormones, serotonin and GABA. So the serotonin and GABA hormone levels are also to be checked for those astronauts. And the microbiome or probiotic will have to be specific for those individuals to maintain their mental health and also their gut health and skin health. So if we can pitch that idea to DBT, I think we can get some funding.
Thank you, Shankar. Well, Oitra.
I apologize to everyone for delay. So, as you all know, that one of the biggest challenges worldwide is biofuel, as it is not renewable and we always require energy. So the idea today I am going to pitch is microbial fuel cells. So what is that? It is a microbial system to generate biochemical energy. How it operates? It uses microorganisms that basically break down any sort of organic substance to generate energy. So the biggest advantage of it, it is very cost effective. You can use wastewater, seawater, anything which contains any sort of organic substance. So the microbes in it will decompose it and generate some energy. And so any electric circuit attached to it will get that energy out in an electrochemical form. So we can use these microbes as anode, and as cathode will be used, anything will be used as any organic matter. So it is basically the idea. So the parts of it is already, University of California is using it as a mobile charging system. And also in US and Europe, people are using these MFCs for wastewater management. So even in our country, we can use this as a wastewater management source, some renewable energy source. Although there are some challenges as the energy density is very low and it is still not that much developed yet. But if we all want to reduce the carbon footprint, and as well as we want to reduce the use of biofuels, so actually we can use these MFCs for future. So that is the idea what I want to pitch today.
Thank you, Aritro. The talks were fantastic, I thought, and at least someone mentioned seawater. So, all right. So, but as you know, this is a competition, so there'll be prizes given. Our judges are here, and we'll let you know today. The prizes are not here. You'll probably receive it on the Institute Day. I don't know.
Thank you for the opportunity to listen to the ideas. So, sir will announce the result which people are waiting for. But I would like to just have a small comment that perhaps none of you, I didn't feel that any of you watched Shark Tank. Really different from the vocabulary of a researcher or a scientist. So I think that we found that was missing. So maybe you can start enjoying Shark Tank and start imbibing those words, those problem statements, because for many of them, you spoke about a solution that was known from the time we studied. So I think those things has to be brushed up, maybe, sir.
So anyway, efforts are very much well received, and I think you have done a very good job. And as it is a competition, someone has to come first, come second, third, like that. So in order of the lowest order, I'm going from third. So Shankhanath. It's a good idea you have, Christine. And second is Jyotishman Sharma. And the first, any guess? So Prashun Panja. So having said so, that all the other participants also has done very well. So obviously for everyone. And you have come up with some ideas, that is very good. Thank you.
Yeah, there are refreshments outside. I'm sure you guys have already figured it out.
In case.